everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Zap Chat. I'm your host, Zach Probst. Thank you so much for staying tuned for my next episode. I've been focusing on my online classes, but also you can call me a slow pacer kind of way. I'm just kind of been slowly progressing, but I'm also being careful and thinking, because I'm a slow thinker, so it takes me a while to process my head and figure out how all this works. So the voice acting class has been keeping me busy, but I'm also keeping busy with you guys on podcast as well, because this is also a voice acting practice, because I really wanted to push my way forward on doing this to you guys. So I wanted to share a little bit of what's been going on, but before we talk about some random topics, I wanted to focus on two topics today. I'm going to be review a little bit of a video game that I played during this crisis that we've been dealing with. So I really wanted to talk about this video game I've been playing for the past few weeks now, and I've beaten it a while back, but I finally beaten it, and I figured I might as well just tell you guys and see what it is. And I'm also reviewing an anime movie that I've been wanted to share with you guys, and this one is brand new too. So this came out, somewhere like not October, somewhere like mid March or something like that. And we'll be discussing that too. Before I get started, our first topic, I want to say a shout out to a voice actor named Steve Bloom. If you're watching this right now, thank you. And second is happy birthday. I was reading up a lot about that a lot of your fans and your online students of your online class are all giving you a shout out and saying happy birthday. And I know things have been really tough, what's been going on right now, so I really wanted to share my support with you of how much your online class means a lot to a lot of people. Even though things have been really, really tough for everybody, but it doesn't mean we don't give up on what we want to do most in our future. Steve Bloom, if you're listening out there, thank you for trying your hardest work as possible to inspire so many young people, including me, that we are all fans to. And you are our teacher, and you are the greatest person that I would love to talk to someday. I've not talked to you in person yet, but maybe someday in the live stream Q&A chat, I'd be more than happy to talk with you, just for a little bit, just for like one question or two, just a little small chat. I'd be hugely grateful, or even just respond to my on my podcast. For you to listen on my episode. So this episode that I'm doing today, this one is dedicated to you. Again, if you're listening, thank you for all your best work you've done, for what you did of bringing the character to life of Cowboy Bebop. Many characters you did to the voices in video games as well. So I want to say thank you for your show, for Cowboy Bebop, for inspiring me becoming an anime fan. And I am really trying my best to accomplish on not just doing podcast, but to also the focus deeper by doing voice acting class. And I will do my best as much as possible. I am a slow thinker. I do have a learning disability, so learning this by myself can be a little bit difficult for me to understand of my brain process. It's a challenge, but I'm willing to push forward. So again, thank you for inspiring me a lot. Now then, let's move on to our first topic today. Our first one today is a video game called D2. Now the image that you see there is just the main character that you're playing as, and her name is Laura, and that is the main character that you'll be playing throughout the game. Now this one is actually, it's technically a sequel, but there are 3 games out there. One is just simply called D, and the second one is called Beyond Zero, and the third game is D2, But there's a catch. Each of those games are individual stories, but all three of them have the same characters by the same name, which is really confusing. So for D2, do not worry about replaying the games from the earlier days. A few reasons. One, they're really hard to find. Two, they're really expensive. And three, you don't really need to look back on the characters to refresh a memory of the story. You don't need to do that. Good news is D2, the one I'm reviewing, is a completely separate story, so you don't need to worry about that, which is good. So, the game of D2, its story takes place sometime on Christmas Day in the year 2000. It's about a main character you're playing as, Laura, and she starts out on a plane on just on her, kind of like one of those daily routine business trips that she goes. We assume that she's works as the office, and then there's been a terrorist attack on the plane. Now, keep in mind, this game came out years ago before the 9/11 incident, so there are terrorists in the plane, but then something else was also happening as some sort of a wizard, like this really creepy dark wizard in some way. At least that's what we all think it's assuming that's how we see this character. But for what's been going on, somehow that wizard is controlling those terrorists that's starting the whole mess in the plane. So, as about a minute or two goes by, this random meteor rock that comes straight down to Earth hits the plane, and the plane crashes down, and now Laura wakes up at this abandoned house. They live in somewhere in the middle of nowhere up in the snowy mountains. She also stumbles on starting a friendly conversation named David in the plane, and then things just went sideways and turned a whole mess. Another new character introduced is Kimberly, as Kimberly Fox, and now their task is to survive in the middle of the mountains and hopefully look for survivors of the plane crash. So while they're surviving, there's been some random monstrous creatures on the loose. So somehow the monsters are inside of their human's body. You don't see it in the human body unless if their blood is infected. Let's say if the blood of their hand turns green blood, then that means they're one of those monstrous creatures. And so they get stumbled on out of nowhere this monstrous creature. So it starts out really strange story. The story itself it's really not that bad, but keep in mind this is a really old game. This game came out about 20 years ago. At that time, video games like this at that time are what it's what we basically get. We don't really have that many video games that has a really good story plot because they're just games. Not many games have good story plots. But nowadays, we got some really good expert creators, such as the guy that created The Last of Us, and new samurai game is going to come out sometime later this year, and bunch of incredible stories that's coming out sometime later this year. So back to the game I'm discussing, there aren't that many games that has good story plots, but this one was decent. Now, I'm not going to say too much of what's going on in the game. I'll let you guys check it out. If you guys are unable to get the video game in the video game stores or anything like that, you can always go to YouTube video and find a full like a 8-hour gameplay of D2. There's also more you can check out online as well. For the gameplay, it's like the easiest game I have ever played. It is super easy. So here's what you do. All you have to do is you go around up in the mountains, explore a little bit, and you just pick up anything like ammos and health and grenades. Just pick up anything you can find, and also hunt some like animals so you can survive for food wise, which counts for another health. So here's a catch: while you're exploring the whole mountains, you're going to be randomly be attacked by monsters. So the gameplay is really really silly. So it comes up, the monsters will come out just out of nowhere. It does get a little bit harder later on, and I have got killed off like once or twice, but overall, you're basically going to survive the whole game without being killed off. So now, here's what else I would say about this game. Yes, the game is really super super easy, and yes, it's really, really hard to find that game in retro game stores. I'm going to say this: the game is super easy, even though it's about 20 years old of the game, but I had a blast playing it. It's really, really simple. You don't have to replay the previous games, has nothing to do with any of that whatsoever. Before I move on to the next topic, is the only thing that I'm going to say about the ending of the game is I'm not going to be telling you about the story, but I will tell you of how the game ended, such as what was the gameplay like in the ending. So here's what I would say. It freaked me out a little bit. I thought my game froze, but it didn't. And I thought my TV lost sound, but it didn't. It's part of the gaming experience. Once you get to the boss ending of the game, do not worry about anything that what's going on in the game, because that's how it actually happened in the game. There's nothing wrong with your game console. There's nothing wrong with your TV. There's nothing wrong with your controller. It is an actual gameplay you will be experience. You'll be very, very surprised. So that's pretty much all I can say about the game. Overall, super easy. It's fun. It's intriguing. I would pay close attention to the story as much as possible, and just have fun. I would definitely recommend checking the game out if you can find it. Again, it's really hard to find. Now then, let's talk about our next one. Let's begin our anime review of the day. Today's review is Lupin III, Fujiko Lies. This is an anime movie that I recently bought, and this is a really, really short one. It's only about like 55 minutes long. It's a really, really short story here. So basically, as I read through online here the story, and I quote, a young boy called Gene holds the key to $500 million that his father embezzled. The two are being targeted by the killer Benkem, who attacked Gene's father, Randy. So this is part of the TV show that you're going to have to watch if you're a fan of Lupin III. So specifically, this anime movie is based off the series called Lupin III, The Woman Called Fujiko Mean, which is a spin-off series about Fujiko. Not Lupin III, just Fujiko. That one takes place in that universe of Lupin III. And I've just watched it like twice and just so I can, to review it to you guys, because, it's a lot of process in my head to discuss with you guys. So there's a few things I want to say here is this movie was celebrating the 55th anniversary of the franchise Lupin III. 55 years. Man, it's a long, long time ago. And it's also dedicated to the creator himself, Monkey Punch. As you watched it in the credits, this movie is dedicated to him. And yes, his name is Monkey Punch. What did I think about this movie? Well, overall, there's a couple key pointers that you have to realize about Fujiko. Is that Fujiko is very known for being a compulsive liar as a thief. And she can also use... Fujiko can also use her sexual lust as a weapon. So bear that in mind once you get to know the character of Fujiko throughout the series. I felt like the young boy Gene in the movie he feels terrified, but wants to revenge the death of his father, but doesn't quite understand his surroundings because the boy is like only like 6, 7 years old, and and the character Ben was it Benko I think Bencam yeah Bencam okay I thought it was pronounced like a Benko or something, so it's Bencam. So Bencam, um, he is a artificial monster that can control people's minds, like ridiculously strong and very very dangerous. Also moves faster than basically like a faster than a speeding bullet. He can move really fast. So very kind of a supernatural-ish character kind of way, but intriguing character. I would have loved to see more of him, of that character. I think overall, what I feel about this movie is I personally think it should have been longer than an hour of this animated movie. I feel like it should have been closer to, let's say, maybe like closer to like somewhere like around 70 to 85 minute range of as an animated movie. But then I realized that while you're watching it, it's it purposely broke it down to a 25-minute long episodes. So it's actually a two-parter. I think that's why it was so short, because it was made for as an episode that's part of the TV show. So I think that was why it wasn't made as a movie. It was made as a TV show. So in order to get you guys the idea about Lupin the Third, you have to realize is Lupin the Third. Think of it as fan base of Doctor Who. In England, they have Doctor Who. They've had for about over 50 years. And now in Japan, they have Lupin the Third that's been around for over 50 years now. Hence, 55th anniversary. The fan base in Japan is really popular. But here in America, not so much. Sad to say. But I will say that I am a huge fan of Lupin the Third, and I'd be more than happy to buy more animated series if I can. But one day, I will collect more of those Lupin the Third titles. But right now, I was just able to get my hands on this anime copy when I got it. So this was something I just really wanted to get. And also the review to you guys. What did I think about the movie? Or a two-part episode, I should say. I would say that it starts out really well, and then later on it gets closer to the enemies, and then there's been some crossover villains later on in the show. I probably don't recognize the characters, but they're part of the TV show once you see it. But I'm a bit rusty on some of the familiar villains, because I don't remember where did I see that from. As a whole, I would say this: Lupin the Third. If you're a big fan of Lupin the Third, this will definitely something that you'd be most enjoyed. I would highly recommend watching it for sure. Buying it, well, you could, but I would say I would not advise to buy it for this one. I would recommend to rent it and watch it and see what you guys think. If you guys love it, if you want to buy it, by all means. But for recommendation, I would say rent it first, because it's a really short one and you probably don't want to keep it in your collection if you want to. If you're not a Lupin the Third fan and do not know anything about it, then it's probably best not to watch this if you do not know anything about it. But here's what I can do. If you watch an anime series of a woman called Fujiko Min, which is a spin-off, I would highly recommend watching that first and then watch Fujiko Lies. That way, you're in the same universe of the story plot and the story direction that they were going for, like the tone of it. Because this is Fujiko Lies is in that universe once you watch the TV show Fujiko Main. If you want to try watching Fujiko Lies, watch the TV show first. That way, you're not lost in the whole show. And do I own Fujiko Mean on Blu-ray? Yes, I do. I have it possession of my collection on my bookshelf. Without a doubt, I would absolutely buy it because I am such a huge fan of Lupin the Third so freaking much. And I loved it all the way through. The TV show, I wish it was longer. That was my complaint. I wish there was more than 12 episodes for this show. It deserves more than that, very much. And and there's also more anime movies out there that's in that same universe. So Fujiko's Lie is the most recent one that I bought in my collection. Now for the other ones, we got Jigen's Gravestone, and we have Goemon's Blood Spray. They're a couple years apart. So Jigen's Gravestone came out like in 2014, and the next one came out in 2017, and another one came out in 2019. So those ones, I've not seen Goemon's Blood Spray. I've not watched that yet. And from the look of things, for what I'm seeing online right now, it also looks like they are also two-parter episodes from the TV show. So B2B expect that this is going to be another 50-minute long animated movie. It looks like you can still probably get it on Blu-ray, but in the meantime, I think Jigen's Gravestone might be a bit tricky to find. Goemon's Blood Spray, I think right now, I don't know if it's available yet, but I'm pretty certain there is. But some websites of your online purchase may not be available on every site. So depending where you get it, it may not be available as of this time. Well then, since we've finished up the podcast pretty early, I do want to say that I would definitely check out Fujiko Lies, most definitely, including some of the other anime movies out there as well. But my favorite anime movie of all time it's got to be Hayao Miyazaki's The Castle of Cagliostro, which I've talked about it before in the past. And that one is my number one favorite movie of all time of Lupin the Third, hands down. So that is the number one thing I would highly recommend for you guys. So for those of you don't know it about that one, Castle of Cagliostro is actually Hayao Miyazaki's first big movie he's ever done before he did the movies on his own. So I would definitely recommend that one. Please do. It's one of my favorite movies ever. Now then, let's move on to some of the more random topics. Since I finished the podcast for just like 30 minutes right about now of my recording, this show will be edited later on as well, so it could be some changing differences. Again, Steve Bloom, happy birthday. And I also did my first meditation. I've never had a meditation exercise kind of way. When I was doing the online class of voice acting, they had this meditation tryout, so you can try just this one meditation for free. And so I decided to give it a try, and I tried it yesterday of this video that I'm recording right now. It was quite nice. You're just basically sitting down with your feet ground, just being comfortable, make sure you're sitting up, and Steve Bloom voice of going through, just like close your eyes, take a deep breath, imagine this, imagine that, just this really smoothing meditation. My first response is I did felt something. I was less pressure. Like on that night, I had a lot of pressure in my head just going through what's been going on lately. So when I did this meditation, it's somehow the pressure in my head was less painful than before. It was more than my head. It was also this weird tingle feeling of my hands. Like it doesn't feel shakiness. It doesn't feel stressed. Like caffeine jitters kind of way. You just can't stop shaking. And I somehow feel just tingles of my lower leg region. It was so strange. I just had this weird change of body feeling, just kind of like, this is an incredible feeling. Just somehow this meditation really works. So I definitely would try again for sure. So if I feel anything pressured or stressed or depressed, this meditation I would definitely would try again for sure. That's also what I really wanted to focus this year is I probably need to focus more on meditation just to help me relax and make some changes, for what's been happening lately. And finally, I need to talk to you guys about this anime show that I talked about. I think I've talked about it from my first episode, but oh yeah, I did. For the first episode of the second season, I discussed that I was currently watching an anime show called The Future Diaries. I was in episode 8 at that time, and then about 2 days later, I finished the anime show. And man, It was also why I was so pressured that day is after I finished that anime show, my head was filled with so much pressure in my head because of how the story ended and how many characters they killed off so quickly, and I'm just this huge shocking feeling, just completely just blown away. It's like watching an episode of season 3 of this famous episode where all the characters be killed off during this wedding scene, and it really blew my mind. By the way, spoiler alert, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I was just blown away of how of how that started out from the last 5 episodes. The the last 5 episodes, they killed off so many main characters, and then later on you get to find out that there's something else happening, and then it just goes dark quick. So spoiler alert, if you've not seen A Future Diary, I probably skipped some of the parts about this part. I would recommend skipping a couple parts of this. So here's a spoiler alert. The ending of the show, it ended as a alternate universe. Let's say if your world has ended, then there's an alternate universe that you can go back in time in an alternate universe and save that world in case somebody else comes in and disrupts the whole premise of the Future Diary all over again. So the way the show ended, it felt like there's completely 2 different worlds. The main character of the show, he made the consequences of what happens if all the character dies. So basically, it's like the movie Highlander. Like there can be only one, and the Future Diary. Now, the consequences is there are a number of people who have the same power of this Future Diary. Basically, the cell phone. Don't ask me to break it down to the show, guys, because I need to go in deeper to do a review for you. But this isn't a review. I'm just discussing how the show ended. So basically, if you kill off the other Future Diaries, there can be only one, and whoever becomes the number one can become a god. Whoever survives last would become a god, creating their own story. So basically, after you win, then the world ends, and it's your job to create a new world. Which doesn't talk about it later on in the show, but that's how the show ended. And this young boy lost a person he truly loves, and he's now all alone, and he's being forced to build a new Earth and start a brand new Future Diary, which is a really dark ending. But to the alternate universe that he went back in time to fix things, I believe, if I remember right, I believe in that universe they rescued one person who they never met at all. They've they've changed their path, each of their characters. So in a way, the future diary for their cell phones does not exist in that world. In that world, it's in a much happier place, a happier ending. Everybody is having better lives. The two main characters have not met at all. They're completely separated. And it ended a much better story. But at the same time, this other main character of that young boy who has to make consequences. So, again, just by watching that of the whole ending, I was just blown away of just how it ended. I'm like, my God. And I had to take time to process this because it was such and very unexpected turn of the story. So I was just completely blown away. But overall, what do I think of the show? Well, I would say I would definitely recommend watching The Future Diary, but I would take your time watching it because this is a roller coaster of dark story. So be advised of that. This is definitely not for kids. Think of it as a combination of Stranger Things and chapter one of Stephen King's It, and put them together. You're going to be filled with bunch of roller coaster ride of dark story experience. My God, it is definitely dark. But you're probably wondering, have I seen darker anime shows in my life? Yes, I have. Most of them are movies. Like I've seen a lot of dark anime movies in my life. TV shows, not so much. The only really dark anime that I've watched was Attack on Titan, but I don't know if it is a dark anime show, but I wouldn't count as like like the Stephen King It. I wouldn't count as that. It's mostly, yes, it's dark, but lots of action. So in a way, the action scenes helps to not think about that this is a dark story. It's just mostly action. So I probably wouldn't count in that kind of tone because the tone on that one, in my opinion, is very different than The Future Diary. Come to think of it, I don't really have that many anime shows that are like The Future Diary. Future Diary is, man, I was not expecting that at all. It just that ending of all the shows. Well, I don't know. I'm just looking at my bookshelf and see what I have, and yeah, I don't really have anything like dark anime show. Just Attack on Titan is pretty much the only one I have. I hate to break it to you guys, but this is the end of the episode here. So it's surprisingly another short one for you today, and a little easier one. And I hope I did the best to you guys to break it down as much as I can, reviewing the game of D2, which, oh, by the way, D2 is exclusively on Sega Dreamcast. So if you're going to find D2 in a retro game store, it's very hard, and I wish you the best you can because it is not an easy game to find. So please be advised, it's only on Dreamcast. For my review of the anime of Fujiko Lies, I hope I did my best reviewing it to you guys because I have to think and talk at the same time, and it's really hard for me to do that because I keep stopping of my speech to tell you of reviewing to you guys. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy my video, and just be sure to click to subscribe or like my video. And if you guys have anything, let's say, is there another anime movie, maybe not TV show, because I'm busy watching like many TV shows, like either Hulu or Netflix or anything like that. How about you guys can send me a recommendation of an animated movie, and I'd be happily for you guys to review it to you guys. So I'll be very much looking forward for that later on of my next episode. And hopefully you guys can watch this and comment me as soon as possible. If not, I'll see what I can find and review it to you guys. That's it for the show today. Thank you for tuning in to my show. And again, be sure to subscribe, like my video, and I will see you next time on the third episode. And I've not written anything of the third episode yet, but I will come up with something of my next one, and I hope you like the next one very soon. So again, thank you for listening on my YouTube video, and this is Zap Chat. I'm your host, Zach Probst. Thank you for listening, and good night.